my name is Finn, and Jakku. Why does everyone want to go back to Jakku? You're watching A Reader's World. I disagree with Justin Bieber on a lot of things. His hair, his music, basically him in general. I also disagree with one of his songs, Never Say Never. Sometimes you can say never. I'm going to talk about the books that I say that I'll never read, unless people come to my house to kill me, and the only way to save me is to read some of these books. The first book I have on my list is kind of obvious. 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah, I'm not interested in the topic. I find the topic wrong. I've heard the writing sucks. It was written from a Twilight fan fiction. Why is it even published? Why is it $1 million movie? Why? This book gives me another reason in why humanity is failing. Another one is Donald Trump becoming president. The second book on my list is the third book in a trilogy, but there's also some spin-off books. That is The Death Cure by James Dashner. I read The Maze Runner, didn't really complete it, but then my friend made me read the second book, and that book made me like, oh my gosh, I hate this series, but I like the movies. I just find it uninteresting when it should be so interesting. I'm really sad because the plot is really good. It's just not carried out well. I'm just never going to touch The Death Cure. I'll just watch the movie. Another book series on the list of never read is a book series that I've heard a lot about, mostly on the negative side. But for one of my close friends, this is basically one of her favorite series of all time, and that is The Match Trilogy by Ali Condi. This book series, not only does it have terrible reviews, but it's one of the books that combines all of my least favorite things into one. Cliches, love triangle, insta-love. I've heard the first one is okay, I've heard the second one is terrible, and I heard the third one is equally terrible. I have more books in my TBR to read and spend my time on than a terrible series that everyone hates, so I'm taking their opinions to save myself. The next sequel on my list, I haven't read the first book, but the first book's a classic, and I just heard not a lot of good stuff about the sequel, and that is To Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee. Oh, Mockingbird is such a classic, and it's one of those things where they make a sequel to it. Let's take Jaws, for example. Jaws is a fantastic movie by itself, but then they made terrible sequels. They should have just left it like Jaws, and that's how I feel with To Kill a Mockingbird. It's such a classic that it should be left alone. Know that To Set a Watchman was the original To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird we know today is the classic, and I just want to spend my time on the actual classic. I don't really want to read the sequel. I just want to leave it alone. Just to read the amazing classic that I've heard so much about. I will, I think, in next year. The next books that I will never read also kind of has the same reason of why I won't read them as To Go Set a Watchman, and that is the other Giver books by Lois Lowry. I love The Giver. The Giver is such a fantastic book, and I just want to leave it alone. I just want to leave it alone. It's right up there. I want to leave it there. I don't want to read the rest of the books because they probably aren't as equal fantastic, or they basically have nothing to do with the plot whatsoever. Next series that I also won't ever read is the Ugliest series by Scott Westerfeld. It kind of is the same problems as Matched. I've heard the series gets worse as it goes on, and again, I don't want to waste my time. The next book that I will never read is a sequel to a book I read last year and did not like at all, and that is Girl on Tour, or Girl Online on Tour by Zoella or Zoe Sugg. I don't really care if it was ghostwrited or not. I just didn't like the book at all. And I just feel that I don't want to be in that world again. The next series I don't really want to read is what I call the young adult 50 Shades of Grey, and that is the After series by Anna Todd. This book started out as a One Direction fanfiction, and they thought the writing was so great that they actually published it. And I did read the first sentence of this fanfiction on Wattpad, and I instantly deleted it from my library because I'm like, my writing's better than this. And I don't think my writing's that good, but if you're comparing it to that, and that girl's already published, I should be a billionaire right now. The next book that I will never read is The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks, or any Nicholas Sparks book in general. I read A Walk to Remember, and I did not like it. He basically copy and pastes all his plots into the same book. A little controversial, the next ones I'm going to talk about. And I will never read these classics called Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Now, those books are huge. Just my head is too dumb to register all the urban fantasy in those books that I rather just watch the movies. Movies are classics. I can't even sit down and watch the movies. So how am I gonna sit down and read these humongous books? I'll never read Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, but I will watch the movies one day. One day more. The next series that I will never read, a series that I read the first book of and basically despised, and that is the Pretty Little Liars series by Sarah Shepard. There's like about 14 or 15 books in that series. They have no plot! There is no plot! So how can you carry that plot out for 15 books? How? The next books are also a little bit controversial that I will never read. They have a huge TV show fandom and a huge book fan, but I'm not interested in any of them, and that is Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. The problem I have with Game of Thrones personally is that just randomly kill off characters. The thing that drives the plot or the characters, they just kill them off for no reason. I just feel like there needs to be a reason for a character's death. Also, there's blood and gore. I just can't deal with those huge books and unneeded death. Am I explaining this right? I'm probably making it more confusing than it actually needs to be. The last and final series that I will not finish anywhere near the end of time. Read the first one, absolutely despised it, and then it's the Shatter Me series by Tara Mothy. I will read Tara Mothy's new book coming out. The first book was a dull, terrible romance with no redeeming characters. Was not dystopian whatsoever. It's just so boring. I have the book here. The book's not even on my shelf. It doesn't even deserve a book. I'm sorry to anyone who likes any of these books. I am sorry for my actions. But these are the books that I will never read. Unless you convince me, comment down below. But that's going to be really hard. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you like, comment, subscribe. Comment down below some books that you will never read. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye. But I can say, the cover's really pretty.